We've got a returning Twonk today. This one's special. He's come back to me comment section armed with fabricated statistics, revenue figures that accidentally prove his opponent's rate, a dead game's Copium recycled word for word, and a Forbes journalist he thinks is corporate insider. By end of this, you're going to witness what happens when a child makes a video game purchase part of his personality and then watches reality politely disagree. Alright, you lot. So I put out a podcast, and first segment were about Marathon, Bungie's new live service extraction shooter. 40 quid. Questionable art style. Dodgy UI. And I were fair about it. I said gunplay were apparently decent, cause it's Bungie. Of course it is. I said I genuinely hoped I were wrong about its long-term chances. I said I didn't want to see Bungie go under. Literally ended that segment with, hopefully Bungie can turn things around. It were clearly a balanced take from someone who played Bungie games and actually gives a shit about whether they survive. But Formula J didn't hear any of that, because Formula J didn't watch video. He saw a thumbnail, assumed I were trashing his favourite game, and went straight to comments like a man who smells smoke and ran towards it with a can of petrol. First comment I saw, he said, "Game is fun. 90% very positive rating on Steam. Remember that game you glazed so hard, XDefiant? It were free and no one wanted it at all. Lost 90% of its player base in a week." Wait, 90% in a week? Well, that's utter bollocks. XDefiant launched May 21st, 2024. It racked up 1 million in first hour. Mark Rubin himself confirmed by week 2 that reached 10 million players.
You know, the game's been out for less than 3 weeks now, and the reception has been extremely positive. We hit way bigger numbers than we expected.
We love that.
We were 1 million in an hour. We were hitting 10 million within less than 2 weeks. So
10 million in 2 weeks. That's not a game losing 90% or out. That's a game that's still growing. And, it seems, did better than Marathon is currently doing. Our Twonk invented a reality that's a perfect mirror image of what actually happened. That takes a special kind of commitment to being wrong. And I responded to him with, "Subjective, kiddo, but glad you're having fun. I genuinely hope it lasts." Polite, warm, but he bit me hand off. "Don't need encouragement or nice words from you. You ain't like that. You are a hater of everything. Subjective, my absolute ass. You jumped on hatership with rest of fools who haven't played game yet. Unfortunately, there's no subjective about my comment. As I understand, not everything is for everyone, but you miserables keep trying to make a spectacle while game has fantastic reviews from people who play. So I'm polite and he rejects it cause it don't fit narrative is already built in his head. He needs me to beat villain so his anger makes sense. Me being reasonable is actually inconvenient for him. It's not a debate to him. This is a man arguing with a version of me that lives rent-free in his skull and pays note in council tax. And funny part of what he said there is, again, exactly same situation XDefiant were in. Content creators bashed it, while those who enjoyed it gave rave reviews. So I explained I watched hours of gameplay from creators who genuinely enjoyed Marathon of poor form in my opinion. I called out his hypocrisy. He responded, "I can read your bullshit comments here. Anyone serious would have bought game and at minimum played a few hours, then return if you wanted a real review. You did brought game a window watcher stick. Lol. Your subjective opinion is cheap like your subs, anyways. Stop acting like a goddamn victim. Be a man. This is energy you put out. Don't bitch up now anyways. How's XDefiant?" I gotta be honest. I absolutely love how kids today think financial investment is prerequisite for having an opinion. I mean, by that logic, I can't say a car crash looks bad unless I were driving one of vehicles. And my favourite bit, your subjective opinion is cheap like your subs. See, when you can't win on facts, you obviously attack someone's stats. That's a man who knows he's lost and is just grabbing furniture to throw. He went from game is fun to attempted personal insults in 4 replies. He's speedrunning self-destruction. And honestly, he might be better at that than he is at Marathon. So I respond to that with XDefiant. Are you okay? Rest of us have moved on. It's gone, kiddo. Get over it already. Only one acting like a victim is one being defensive about Marathon, with its vomit-inducing art style and low sales. Sony won't care about how fun you think it is if it don't pick up soon. Without some serious returns, it's going to end up being XDefiant 2.0. I had no idea I was going to see someone Twonk relied on to, in a sense, back me up on that statement. But Twonk went quiet on me. Couldn't handle someone who responds with calm and receipts. He wasn't done though. He found another commenter, Rioteo1. And to his credit, Rioteo handled this Twonk with grace for a true gentleman. He dealt only in facts. He pointed out that Marathon hadn't made a fifth of what it cost to develop. And that's where Formula J deployed his ultimate weapon, Paul Tassi. According to Bungie Insider, Paul Tassi, he wrote, 1.2 million estimated sales, $48 million off back. Oh, this is gorgeous. See, Paul Tassi into Bungie Insider. Tassi is a Forbes journalist who writes about games for a living. He's not sat in Bungie's canteen eating a panini and leaking server data between bites. He's a columnist with sources inside Bungie. There's a massive difference between being an insider and being a journalist with contacts. But here's where it gets really beautiful, because Formula J is using Tassi as his golden shield. Tassi confirms 1.2 million sales. What Formula J conveniently leaves out is what Tassi actually said about those numbers. Tassi's own words were that performance is lower than it should be in general from launch figures to now, given context at game, meaning its development time, cost and expectations from Sony. That's his own source, his chosen champion, telling him Marathon is underperforming. And he's parading those numbers around like a trophy. That's like waving exam results in someone's face when you got a D-, mate. Remember what Mark Rubin said about XDefiant 3 weeks into release?
We were hitting 10 million within less than 2 weeks, so we were hitting 10 million within less than 2 weeks, so...
Now let's talk about that 48 million in gross revenue, because Formula J's throwing it out like it means something impressive. Estimated development costs for Marathon sit anywhere from 200 million, conservatively, to potentially 3 or even 400 million when you include marketing and first-year operating costs. Nobody outside Bungie or Sony knows exact figure. It hasn't been disclosed. But we can do basic maths based on 300 developers over 5 to 6 years in Seattle. At an average 300 million, 55 million in gross revenue is less than a sixth, and that's gross. Before Steam's 30% cut on that 70% of sales sitting on PC. Before tax, Rioteo1 said it hadn't made a fifth of what it costs. Formula J responded to a man doing arithmetic by calling him a dork. Peak twonkery. And then he hits us with it's not a flop, followed by listing every dead game he can think of. Concord, XDefiant, Splitgate, iGuard. Mate, when your argument for a game's success is, well, at least it didn't die in 2 weeks like Concord, you're not making a case. You're setting a bar so low it's underground. And remember those XDefiant figures for the first 2 weeks, compared to your precious Marathon?
We were hitting 10 million within less than 2 weeks, so we were hitting 10 million within less than 2 weeks, so we were hitting 10 million within less than 2 weeks, so...
Linear Analytics, whose numbers Tassi corroborated with his Bungie sources, said it directly. Marathon hadn't made splash Sony and Bungie wanted. That's an analyst firm with verified data. Tassi himself wrote an article literally titled A Marathon Reality Check. it's a good game, but it's not a hit. Where he said, if you want significant new marathon content for indefinite future, something big needs to happen so game don't bleed money and get less and less resources over time, if any. Formula J's own source wrote that day after one he quotes. How's that for irony? But here's where this whole thing transcends normal twonkery and enters a realm of poetic stupidity I genuinely didn't think possible. Formula J told Rioteo 1 that according to Paul and his sources, marathon is truly a marathon and not a race. We'll be here for a while. Sound familiar? It should, because Mark Rubin said exact same thing about XDefiant to IGN Live in 2024.
We're not concerned about winning the sprint. We're concerned about winning the marathon. We're not concerned about winning the sprint. We're concerned about winning the marathon.
7 months later, he were announcing Shutdown. Nearly 300 developers lost their jobs. Studio got shuttered. This twonk here, whether he knows it or not, has absorbed that exact same energy and regurgitating it in defence of a game literally called Marathon. And here's most ironic part. He said, back when Tom Henderson, Ubisoft Insider, brought XDefiant is about to shit head news, this channel said he were lying. It all came out to be true. Now when another insider speaks, don't channels like these don't observe. I don't know where this kid gets insider logic for gaming journalists, but at time Tom Henderson posted that all indications and verifiable data pointed to opposite. Very similar to what could be said now for Paul Tassi's article. I have read Tassi's articles. I absolutely observe all gaming news. I also read them objectively, which, it seems, Twonk did not. I tell you, you couldn't write this. If someone pitched this as a script, I'd say it's Twonk knows. Yeah, so there's this kid defending a game called Marathon using the same Copium that preceded one of the most high-profile live service collapses in recent memory. Nobody'd believe it. But it's real. It's sat right there in my comment section, with crying laughing emojis and everything. And it kept getting worse. He quietly bumped Marathon sales from 1.2 million to 1.4 million between comments. No source, no citation, just inflated it by 200,000 copies like nobody had noticed. Same bloke who invented a 90% player drop is now rounding up sales by 17% because bigger numbers feel better. And he compared Halo Infinite's 1800 concurrent on Steam to Marathon's 40k and acted like it were a devastating gotcha. Except you forgot one thing, kiddo. Halo's primary platform is Xbox and Game Pass. Steam's an afterthought for Halo. Always has been. Meanwhile, Tassi, Formula J's own beloved source, confirmed 70% of Marathon's entire player base is on Steam. Steam is Marathon's main platform. Comparing Halo's smallest platform to Marathon's biggest is like comparing a takeaway's delivery orders to a restaurant's dining numbers and declaring yourself winner. And then he said, "Yep, nerve to say they're keeping Halo alive with 1800 players on Steam, while 40k Marathon on Steam is a dead flop. This has to be..." And there it is. Rock bottom. He's gone from fabricated statistics to attempted personal attacks to financial gatekeeping to using disability as a punchline. That's not a man winning a debate. That's a child who's been intellectually cornered and lashing out at wherever he can reach. Every single verifiable claim he made across both threads were wrong. Every one. And instead of stopping, reflecting, or just quietly walking away, he tripled down and ended up using a neurological disorder as ammunition against a stranger on internet. Editing Scotty here, I noticed after recording that this twonk had responded to my pinned comment on that podcast, but it got blocked by YouTube's algorithm for its offensive wording. So I won't show it or share it, but one party said, "Who said Arkham Marathon are in a race?" Now yeah, I asked, are you actually gonna give Marathon a fair shake at 40 quid, or is Ark Raiders already winner in your book? And I think that's a fair question. considering both games are PvPvE extraction shooters. Neither of them are Call of Duty or Battlefield or XDefiant or even Halo. They're completely different beasts. But compared to each other, Marathon's certainly chasing the same crowd, and it appears to be losing fate. Formula J. Mate, if you're watching this, and let's be honest, you're probably not, because you enjoy engaging with content you hadn't actually consumed. Here's me genuine advice. Next time you want to roll into someone's comment section swinging, maybe watch video first. Maybe check your stats before you present them as gospel. Maybe don't cite a journalist who's literally written articles contradicting your entire position. And maybe, just maybe, don't recycle dead game Copium and expect nobody to notice. You are, without a question, one of the finest twonks this channel has ever produced. And honestly, I hope you keep commenting, because content like yours is why I don't need to write scripts. You just hand me material. And if you like this video, YouTube says you'll like this and next. So go check that out, and I'll see you there, you magnificent.